those who are online with us. As promised, we're having today this service to our inner and outer community in order to help you and me, all of us, to navigate the situation that we're going through with better health, with good instructions of how to stay healthy and to strengthen our immune system. Today we have here with us at Dallas First Church and with you online, we have Owner's Manual. Owner's Manual is an organization that is here from Texas. They're fellow Texans. They've been going through all that we've been going through here locally. They know what's going on. Not only that, but we also have a partnership with them when we had a free health, dental, medical, lifestyle, and vision clinic in October, about a year ago, almost exactly, that we had this here with us. They were taking care of all of the lifestyle for our health, of health for, what was it? Health for Dallas, that was it, Health for Dallas Clinic. So today we have the chance to have them with us. I won't take too long, but I do want to briefly introduce them, and then I will want to have a word of prayer, and I'll hand the program back over to them. So I'd like to introduce briefly here, oh, she's in the middle. Okay, so Michelle, we have Michelle in the middle here with us. We have her husband, Michael, who's also here with us. And we have George here with us, the three that are part of this health ministries called Owner's Manual. Before we start, we believe that asking the Lord God, the creator of all things, to be with us and guide us is really the primary thing that we can do. So for those who are not driving their cars, I invite you to close your eyes and let us talk to him. Heavenly Father, we thank you that we have the privilege of having health right now, but maybe some people are struggling. Many people all around the world are. And we thank you also for this group that has come here to bless us with information, to guide us in what steps to take in order to do our very best to stay healthy, to live a life that is worth living. Thank you for bringing us to this moment, and please give us the wisdom to not only know things, but also to live these things that we will learn. In your name I pray, amen. Well, without further ado, I'll hand it over to all of you.
Thank you, Pastor. And let me first say that it is indeed a joy for us to be able to be here this afternoon, a blessed Sabbath day. And what better way to end the Sabbath or to spend the Sabbath than learning more about our Creator in regard to what He has in store for our bodies, His intent for our physical bodies. But we are not just about the physical, because we know that God's desire is to restore man spiritually and physically. So to those who are listening and viewing online, welcome indeed, and thank you. And for the members that are present at the church as well, we are indeed thankful for you to be here. Before we delve right into the presentation, I want to give just a little bit of background about Owner's Manual Health Ministries. As Pastor rightly said, we had the honor of partnering with Dallas First in that outreach program, the Amen Clinic, and that was really a blessing. If you were part of that, I know you were blessed as well. Owner's Manual is a self-supported nonprofit ministry that is totally geared towards using the natural laws that God gave us in helping His children understand how to care for the body. And when we are able to restore and care for the body, we naturally are drawn closer to Him. So spiritually and physically is our focus. It is based right here in Texas, but specifically in the East Texas area is where the ministry is based. But we do go to wherever the Lord sends us, to whichever church, our community, however the need is, we go out and we minister. And again, we are just servants. All of us are just a small representation. The entire team is 9 of us in all, but 3 of us here today. And in that team, not all 9 reside in Texas. We have some that live in Florida, others that live in California. And so we are still able to do the Lord's work, even though as a team, even though we are not necessarily in the physical same place. On the team, we are blessed to have nurses, registered nurses, as well as medical doctors. In fact, Brother George is a medical doctor. He will tell you about himself a bit. And then my wife, Michelle, is a nurse. And we also have another medical doctor, a wife as well, that she is an OBG, and her husband is a naturopathic doctor. And then we also have another member of the team that's a food science, nutrition, what's the word I'm looking for? Major. That's her her specialty. So as you can see, the Lord brought us together. And you may be wondering, well, Michael, what about you? What do you do? I just keep all of them busy. But by profession, I'm an engineer. And that has nothing to do with how I'm able to do God's work, because that is just my vocation. My true calling is to be a servant of God, and that's what I find joy in. So that's a little bit about us. So now let's go right in. Well, do you want to say anything first as a welcome? Anyone? Okay. You have a mic down there. Good. All right. So this afternoon, this evening, the emphasis is on bringing to you some practical information. Well, we need to make sure that upon the end of this, that as you are viewing, you want to be able to say, I have actually gained something that I can apply starting today. Mm-hmm. Because everything we're going to give you is going to be all about lifestyle practices. So you don't need to necessarily run out to buy it. We want you to be able to do what you have at home. So if you are able to, you would see on the screen, the information that we are sharing is all from 3 perspectives, which is the biblical, inspired writing, and good science. Inspired writing, for anyone who is listening that's not necessarily a Seventh-day Adventist, is just that you will understand that as a Seventh-day Adventist, we have been given a message of health, and in that we know that there are many, many books written by our a servant of God, Ellen G. White, and she has a wealth of knowledge that the Lord has given to her that is even applicable now, and it was written years ago. And every Seventh-day Adventist will know the books that I'm talking about. You'll see them being referenced. So let's look at, when we talk about disease or illness, I want you to remember a few things. That a disease never comes without a cause. The curse causeless shall not come. That's from the Bible, Proverbs chapter 26. Now, you are not, for those online, you're not here to interact, but we know that you would still hear. So, disease never comes without a cause. That is very profound, okay? If you have a question or so, you could probably put it in the chat. I think we have that ability, right, Pastor? So if we do, we can get some questions back if someone has a question. So when you look at disease and the definition of it, you can find it in the dictionary, but from Inspired Writing, Ministry of Healing, the pen of inspiration, we are told that disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from the violation of the laws of health. Wow. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system. And you can think of practical ways. When you have a cold, and the nose is, your nose is all runny, you're thinking, I'm going to be sick, or I am sick. That running, the mucus flowing, running from the nose is just the body's way of trying to rid the system of what's already causing you to feel that way. So that, and when you look at the word disease, it's a dis-ease, a discomfort, something that is away from the norm. Okay?
So is disease a good thing? Because I mean, if, I think as far as anyone thinks disease, we go, oh no. But from what you're saying here,
Mhm.
you're making it sound like disease is a good thing. Is it? Is disease an enemy or a friend?
Wonderful question. And the answer is disease is actually a good thing because it's telling you that something is wrong. Now, the thing about disease is that it didn't happen overnight. And any violation may not affect you right away, but over time, it will show its sign. For example, you went through the entire day without having any water. It's been a stressful day at work and the office, and you just had one of those days. And then you're home and you have a nasty headache. And you're telling yourself, it was just a hard day. But really, the headache stems from the fact, could very well be that your body is so dehydrated. Because throughout the day, when you were going through the work, you were drinking, yes, but not water. You were having a glass of nice grape juice or orange juice or coffee or a soda. So you were satisfying your desire for a drink, but you weren't really giving the body what it's needed, which is the water to hydrate the cells. And so the body's way of telling you, look, we are getting to a point where you need to give me what I need. It's going to send that headache. And so now with the headache, you're thinking, I still need to finish up this report to send tonight. Let me just go ahead and get an aspirin or something like that. So you still haven't given the body what it needed. So disease is just letting you know, or illness, or dis-ease, discomfort. I know when you hear the word disease, you often think of, the bubonic plague or something major, or cancer. Trust, it's not necessarily that major, but simple illnesses that can lead to those major diseases indeed. So keep that definition in mind, the effort of nature to free the system. And then you may ask yourself, well, it says free the system from violation of the laws of health. But God gave us laws of health. And we are going to present to you what those laws of health are. In fact, I have them there. If they're on the screen, you can see what they're telling you. The laws of health: pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. And the line that's underlined is one of the most powerful there. It says, for those who are here with me, what does it say? These are the
true remedies.
the true remedies. These are the true remedies. That speaks volumes. That's telling me that if I find myself in this ease, that one of these laws are most likely been violated, or multiple that's causing this. So to remedy the situation, I need to find out which one, and then I need to go about fixing it. In fact, we have to simplify it and help remember it. We took the name of the ministry and was able to create an acronym that is easy to remember. And it's slow coming up on the screen, but let's try it. All right. So if you look there, you see it says Owner's Manual. And the name Owner's Manual, again, is just telling us that, pointing us back to our Creator and the Bible, the Owner's Manual, and ways in which we can properly use and care for the product, our bodies. So we have able to put the laws of health in there, and you can see them there: open air, water, nutrition, and so on. Does God really care? Yes, he does. About how I am feeling and whether or not my body is ailing, he certainly does. God has pledged himself to keep this living machinery, our bodies, in healthful action. If the human agent will obey his laws and cooperate with God, he has pledged. What is it to pledge? It's to promise that I will do my part if you, okay? The Lord has provided antidotes. Here we go again. These are the true remedies, right? The Lord has provided antidotes for disease in simple plants. And these can be used by faith with no denial of faith. For by using the blessings provided by God for our benefit, we are cooperating with him. Now, interesting, when you looked at the laws of health, whether it was in the quotation or it was in the acronym, the owner's manual, each one of them, one thing that jumps out is that they are all available to whether you're rich, poor, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, it doesn't matter your race, your location. God made certain and provided all to all of his children. And that's why we know that these things are given to us for our benefit. The Lord has given some simple herbs. So here we are seeing that the use of herbs as well is beneficial in restoring the body. And if every family, so it doesn't matter if you have the means that you can say, well, I am a doctor or I have someone that can come. It is still beneficial if every family should educate in how to use these herbs in case of sickness, much suffering might be prevented. I truly believe that. Much suffering. And, it says there that these are old-fashioned. And some of us, if we had the opportunity to sit down with our grandparents, they will tell you how they went about dealing with a fever or a headache or these, and we look at these things as minor, but remember, they are just the body's way of telling you that something is wrong. When your knees are aching, sure, that's not something you want, but what caused my knees to be aching? What caused my joints to be aching? What is causing me to have this dizziness? The body's way of telling you something is wrong. All right? So herbs, you will hear more about that as we go down through this presentation. So regardless of what the symptom is, but we just wanted to show a few. Sore throat, fever, runny nose, loss of taste, headache, loss of smell. In our present time that we are in with COVID, these seems to be indeed some of the symptoms that one can relate to. But in any illness, you would have symptoms. What are symptoms? They're just indicators that something is happening that shouldn't be. And if you ignore it, it's going to eventually just become a bigger issue to deal with. So when you have these symptoms, it's not to ignore it. When you have the headache, when you have a fever, or your child at home has a fever, the body is creating that heat because, don't want to get in too much into it, but that heat now of the body is generated so that the white blood cells, the fighter cells can go to work and do what they need to do. When you have a diarrhea, you might wonder, well, that's not good. It is, because the body is saying, getting it out. Something is in, and before it causes more harm, I'm going to get it out. So what do you do in cases when you're ill? The first thing to be done is to ascertain, to determine, to figure out the true character of the sickness, and then go to work intelligently to remove the cause. This is from Ministry of Healing, the book Ministry of Healing. Awesome book. If you have it in your home, I encourage you to pick it up, start reading it, especially in these times. There's a wealth of knowledge there that will benefit you. So when one is sick, what should you do then? These 4 steps are very good to apply in any illness. In case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained, determined. Unhealthful conditions should be changed wrong habits corrected, then nature to be assisted. So let's look at them in practical terms, right? You have a fever. You want to know first what could possibly have caused this fever. Maybe there's an invasion, something is trying to get into my body, and so the body is causing that rising of the temperature. What do? You look to see if you have caused any unhealthful conditions that brought that on first off. If you have, then you know exactly what to do. Let's look at it again in another way. If you were to leave where you are now, or you heard one of your children call out that the kitchen is flooded, water is running all over the floor, and you run into the kitchen and you can see the sink overflowing with water, that's the issue, right? But what is really causing that? You don't tell your child, go get the mop and bucket and let's start mopping up this water. What's the first thing you're going to want to do? You're going to want to go shut the faucet off. You're going to turn that water off because you're like, if I shut it off, I have stopped the issue. Now you're going to go to work in mopping it up and taking care of what the issue caused. So you don't go to the symptom first, you go to finding out the cause. And once you get to the root cause, then you know exactly how to go about dealing with it. And nature is one of the ways in which you can use that approach. So now these are just foundational information that I just shared with you. It applies to COVID, it applies to whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, it applies to diabetes, it applies to any illness, because remember what we said disease is? It's an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that arise because of the violation of the laws of health. So now that we have gotten that out of the way, we want to dive right into Corona, COVID-19, and how that we can use these laws and information that we have to give you this evening in not just dealing with COVID. If you are suffering from COVID currently, you are going to get some practical information that you can use. If you are working in an environment that you are exposed to, you will have steps that you can use. And above all, if you're well, you would have steps that you can apply in your life that you can make a daily habit so you ensure that you don't. So in addition to the hand washing, the wearing of the mask, and the social distancing, we want you to know that God's plans, his laws are very much true and they work. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Brother George, and he's going to start us off looking at COVID.
Good afternoon, Dallas. We're glad to be here. Before we proceed, just a reminder that all the information you receive here is for educational purpose. It's not necessarily professional medical advice, but everything is based on science and scripture. Hopefully the latest science that's out there. So we have an epidemic on our hands, or the word here is pandemic. The only difference is epidemic, it's local. Pandemic, it's crossed country boundaries. So I guess the word should be the pandemic we have. And we're not the first to deal with this. Our first definition of an epidemic would be an event of extraordinary proportions that affects the health of people in a community. So definitely the coronavirus qualifies for that. But like I was saying, this is not the first time we've had to deal with an epidemic or a pandemic. If you go back in the Bible, Moses and the children of Israel, when they were going through the desert, the wilderness, at some point they were getting bit by snakes, very poisonous. They were dying from it. And we find that they turned to God. He told Moses, make a staff and a serpent. So he made a bronze serpent on a staff, and everyone who looked at that would get healed after a snake bite. So we know how one of the earliest epidemics and how they dealt with it. But today, the coronavirus. First time we heard about the coronavirus was in actually 2002. They called it SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. This started in China, in an area in China. Unfortunately, it stayed there. I think about 8,049 people who were infected. And of those, roughly 10% lost their lives. But it was limited, it went away. And then fast forward, in 2012, there was another coronavirus. They called it MERS, or Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. And this one affected about 2,094 people, but it was very lethal. I think about 34% of the people died from it. So now we come to the SARS number 2, the COVID-19. The numbers, these are the latest from, I think, Thursday. The Johns Hopkins University, they have a board where they post every day when there are changes. As you can see, around the world, more than 42 million people have had the infection, and more than 1 million people have lost their lives. In the US, we have more than 8 million people who have been infected, and 223,866 who have died from it. Now, come down to Texas. 871,153 as of Thursday who have been infected by the coronavirus, and of that, over 17,000 people have lost their lives. Dallas County, over 91,000 people who have been infected, and we've lost over 1,200 people. Now, yesterday, it was all over the news that actually the US set the record for the most number of new infections. I think it was like 83,000.
Wow.
So we know this thing is getting worse. For a while, it looked like we had it under control, but as we get into the flu season, we expect there's going to be some trouble. So for most people, the symptoms are just like the common cold. Runny nose, sore throat, headache, a dry cough, stomach upset, shortness of breath. Then a few people, they lose sense of smell or taste. And then as it gets worse, that's when you start having breathing difficulties. The next slide. Yeah, so again, just to go over, most people just have mild to moderate disease. That includes fever, dry cough, just feeling tired, congestion, runny nose, of course, sore throat, and muscle aching. Very similar, actually, to what you get with the flu. And then we know there are some people, mostly people with high blood pressure, or people who've had heart disease, or people who are immunocompromised. They might progress and develop shortness of breath. When you measure their oxygen, it might drop like 94% or less. When they're not doing anything, start breathing faster. And in the severe form, that's when those who end up in the hospital, sometimes in ICU on a ventilator, they develop the adult respiratory distress syndrome. I mean, acute respiratory distress syndrome, because even kids can get it. It might get shock, all the electrolytes in the blood, acid builds up in the blood, multiple organ failures, blood clots. All that will happen, those who have serious illness. But when you look at it overall, really this virus attacks the circulation, small blood vessels. It starts in the lungs because that's how we breathe in, that's how we get exposed to the environment. But once it attacks the blood vessels, you get inflammation, they lose their integrity, This oozing, blood oozes from the blood, ends up in the lungs, and pretty much almost like they're drowning in their own fluid. Same blood vessels, they'll go to the kidneys. That's why you see people with the kidney failure. People who've had serious illness, blood vessels to the brain, they have issues with the memory. They can't remember things. Digestive system, stomach upset, diarrhea, and so on. Because the blood vessels that feed, that supply, the digestive system are also affected. This is crucial to understand because in the blood, that's where the immune system works. That's where it begins. Once it's alarmed, it's triggered, it mounts that defense. So there's two kinds of immune system. We have what we call the innate immune system. That's immune system that's ready to fight. I like to compare that with, in the military, the Rangers or the Marines. They're always battle ready, ready to fight. This is the innate immune system. There's the second immune system, which begins when the immune system, specific cells in the body, when they get exposed to the intruder, the infection, then they go back to the bone marrow and start synthesizing defense antibodies to fight that. That can take 2-3 days. In between, if you're not prepared, you could get overwhelmed very quickly. That's why these laws of health, that's why they come in, to boost that innate, that first line of defense system.
Dr. George, I didn't hear you. Do you think there's like a mental health aspect of this?
Yes, there is. Part of it is, of course, when you have the blood flow to the brain affected by this infection, inflamed blood vessels and so on, it can lead to depression and so forth.
Yes.
But the other part comes from the measures we've been taking, isolating and so on, people staying at home, and a lot of other things happening, difficulty at work. If there are issues in the family before, they're coming out to light. So we expect a lot of mental issues to go along with this.
Interesting. And so Dr. George talked about the immune system, and that in itself is a system God gave within us to ensure that we are able to fight and be able to keep this body, this temple, in its best operating. Any well-kept fortress would have a defense around it, and not just one, but multiple layers of it. And it's the same way. So for the COVID and any other illness, we want to look at how the laws of health, how can they play a part in ensuring that my defense, my immune system is functioning at its optimum. And so we're going to look at the laws of health, because remember again, it said, these are the true remedies. So we're going to take each one and look at it in a practical way, how you can apply it to your life. The first one we're going to start with is sunlight. Sunlight. This is one of the nature's healing agents, is what we got from this Second Testimonies, page 527, as inspired writing, shared that with us. And so when we look at sunlight, there are days that we don't get it as much. Folks have various theories about being out in the sun. Well, we're going to not necessarily debunk, but we're going to unpack some realities and some basic steps to that. When you hear the sunlight, the first thing most people think about is vitamin D. And we're gonna get into that a little bit. So there are thousands of viruses around the world, and sunlight helps to kill them. You know that the sunlight generates heat, and heat does a good wonders in killing out viruses, but you can get what you have right here, okay? So vitamin D is one of the things that comes to mind when you think of the sun. It's important. It is very important to the immune function. In fact, it says that vitamin D increases the immune function by 3 to 5 times its potential. And so if you can't get vitamin D by being exposed to the sun, then we highly recommend that you get a supplement. And there are places like in Alaska, in Canada, up north, that they don't get that all year round sun. And so they may have to supplement. But we here in Texas, we are blessed because we get a lot of sun. And if we just have to look at lifestyle and to whether or not it is practical for me to get the amount of sun that I need. And so when you think of vitamin D, is it just as vitamin C or vitamin E? Well, not really. Vitamin D is actually more of a hormone. And it's not that the sun gives you the vitamin D, but what it is going back to how God created us. Once the skin is exposed to the sun, it then converts the cholesterol into a prohormone, which then influences the entire body and receptors within each cell to now generate that vitamin D. And your body is made up of trillions of cells. Every cell needs some important thing. Vitamin D is one of those things that is needed in there in the cell. To tell you how important this vitamin D is, look at the list of diseases that can arise as a result of not insufficient vitamin D. And this, to make it easy, I put it in alphabetical order. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it goes all the way from A down to W, I believe. So here we go. We look at asthma. Do you think asthma could be related to a deficiency in vitamin D? Celiac disease, cancer. Who would think that my cancer is a result of vitamin D deficiency? It may not be the direct cause, but it definitely can be a contributor to it, is what we are saying. And remember again that most diseases are lifestyle, okay? I know folks may think, well, I'm genetically, yes, you may be genetically exposed to this, but genetics is only 5% of the diseases, the cause of it. Lifestyle is the greater part. So just running down the list of various diseases that can come out as a result of vitamin D deficiency. Eye cancer, depression, and seasonal affective disorder. Isn't that true? Haven't you heard of individuals that up north that says when it's this time of the year, when we're entering into winter and it's just gloomy and the sun is not out, that's when the disorder of depression seems to be at its highest among individuals. So many other illnesses that can arise as a result of the deficiency in vitamin D.
And Michael, there are lots of studies. If people are, you won't believe it, but just type in vitamin D deficiency and high blood pressure, vitamin D deficiency and cancer. It will blow your mind. The link, and there are people that we know of who we've worked with as a team that once their vitamin D levels increased, the symptoms of their diseases decreased. So there is a direct link, and I challenge you, homework, Google, PubMed is a good source. PubMed is a wonderful website. Do study any links and of any illness and vitamin D deficiency. There are also Adventist health studies that also based on any one of these or many of these and their the link to vitamin D
deficiency.
So check it out.
So vitamin D is important. Remember, we're talking about sunshine and getting that vitamin D. Not because the sun is giving it to you, but the sun is activating the body to generate what is needed. So is it important to get that sun exposure? It absolutely is. But then the question then begs is, what or how do I know what are my vitamin D levels? Well, there is a test that you can get done. It's called the 25-hydroxy vitamin D test. And if you haven't done your blood work as yet, or you're going to see your doctor, they normally take your blood to do other things to check your calcium, your your LDH, and so forth. Once that blood is drawn, they can go and you can let them know, I would like for you to do the 25-hydroxy test as well, so that you can know what your vitamin D levels are. I encourage you that you do that test first. It's a blood non-fasting test. As most blood tests are, you want to go into it after fasting for at least 12 hours, right?
So
Or
with,
non-fasting in this case, yes.
they say people of ethnic groups like Black, Hispanics, and so on, they tend to be deficient in vitamin D.
Mhm.
So it would be a good idea to get tested first before
Absolutely,
they start popping
absolutely.
those vitamins.
That is a very good point. We don't subscribe to you just leaving here or going out and say, well, let me go, because vitamin D is so important, let me go ahead and just start taking a supplement. It's great to first find out what your levels are so you can know how you need to work intelligently
And then
indeed.
you can compare it to see how well your supplementing has been helping you.
Now, I don't have it here, but just a piece of fact information for you to share with you, that when your body develops that vitamin D through exposure of sun, that's how God made us. You will never have too much of it. In fact, the body will store the vitamin D needed for period and times when you don't get the exposure, so you will have enough. But if you're taking a supplement, when do you know that it's enough? In fact, you can take more than you need to and become toxic. But when you get it the natural way, never more than the body needs. And when it has more, it stores it. Isn't that God wonderful that He created us that way? All right. So optimal. And when we say optimal, that means what? The best, right? The best levels that you want to be able to have is at least 50 to 55. Now, if you have around 30, that's normal. But I can tell you my own personal experience, I'm an outdoor person. I love the yard work. I love being outside, hot, except when it's cold. I don't like the cold. But even with me being such an avid person outdoors, when I had my first 25-hydroxy test done, my doctor called me in the office. They gave me all my other results on the phone, but he said, I want you to come in because there's something we need to talk about. My levels were so low, even being in the sun that much. So I was shocked. I was very surprised, but this was my knowledge so I could know what to do going forward. So I encourage you, get the test so that you can be prepared. Okay? Now, there are some people that are just naturally at risk to being insufficient in their vitamin D. Young children who do not go outdoors. And we know that in present day lifestyle, you look at lifestyle today, the average adult who works in an office or so, how much exposure do they get outdoors? We leave home, we get in our cars, we go to the office, we're indoors, then we go back out when we probably get something to eat, if we don't go to the vending machine, and then we're leaving work and we go back home. So we don't get that exposure as we should. And sad enough, our children are also prone to be the same, especially now with COVID when they're just virtual learning versus the getting recess or break, right? The elderly are at high risk as well for vitamin D deficiency, in as much as 75% by the age of 70 years. And one of the reasons for this is that as you get older, the skin just does not have that ability to produce the vitamin D as a young person would. Brother Dr. George mentioned about different ethnicity. That is true. And looking at skin complexion, some people say, well, I'm already dark, so I cannot be in the sun that much. Well, science has shown that dark-skinned individuals actually need more sun exposure to get the vitamin D levels than those who are of lighter skin complexion. So it's a misinformation if you think that because I'm dark, I cannot be outdoors, else I'm going to get much darker. Now, we're going to give you some just a recommendation on a supplement, but you can get a supplement, a good supplement, vitamin D. And we do have, as a ministry, we do have a vitamin D that we recommend. which is olive oil based as well, but you can get to us and we will get that to you if you are interested. So if you are getting outdoors, which you need to also be able to protect your skin, right? So here are some practical things to do when outdoors so you don't be exposed to getting sunburn. You want to wear loose cotton, preferably cotton is best, clothing that fully covers your arms, your legs. You want the natural fibers because they're still breathable. They still allow air and the sun rays to get through. A lot of the man-made fabrics that we see in our clothing today don't allow us to do that. So make sure that you're wearing the right clothing. Wear a hat if need be as well. Drink lots of water. And of course, eat fruits and vegetables to lower the risk of sunburn. So those are just some practical ways. That's sunlight and why the sunlight as one of the natural law is important to your immune system. We're going to transfer now to one other, which is
abstemiousness. That's temperance, meaning moderation in things you do. They say too much of a good thing is actually bad for you. Then again, there's one of the, what's considered, I can't remember the name, the father of occupational medicine. He said that the only difference between a poison and something good is in the amount, the dosage.
What was that, Dr. George? Say that again.
The difference between a poison and something that is beneficial for you is in the amount. Amount, the quantity, yeah. But also, another dimension to that is there are some things we know. They're just not good for us. Been revealed to us through research, through science, but also through inspirational writings. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31 says, "Wherefore, whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God." So, overwork. It's not good for you. I don't have to mention that. There are people, my favorite, I used to watch the Muppets, Jim Henson. He overworked himself to death. He had sepsis and died from that. Left a big empire because of overworking. That's all he did, work. Nutrition, we'll get back into that. Things we put in our mouth, caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, and stimulants, they have no nutritional value. They just cause problems. They're addictive. And what people don't understand is something simple like caffeine, when it gets to the brain, it forces the brain to change. It changes the brain chemistry. You're never the same after caffeine. A concept they call neuroplasticity, meaning it develops new networks, new cells just to accommodate that caffeine. Then when people stop, find they're getting headache, they're getting nervous, shaking, sweating, and so on, because the brain wants more of it. It's been changed. Alcohol, it's not good. The only good thing about alcohol is if you use it as a solvent to clean stuff, or mix it with aloe vera or something to kill this coronavirus. But when it gets in the body, it's causes a lot of damage. Alcohol has been linked with a lot of problems. Cancer is just one of those. It affects the immune system also. It puts the immune system to sleep so it cannot respond to problems. Sugar. It's amazing. America was a health country. The only bad thing was smoking, which the Surgeon General recognized way back. But it turns out, starting in the 1970s, when discovered high fructose corn syrup and made everything cheaper, sodas and so on, we started getting all these problems. Number of cases of high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, everything went up with sugar. So sugar pretty much makes the immune system drunk. It doesn't work effectively. And one drink of sugar probably takes up to 5 hours before the immune system
Wow.
restores to normal.
So, Dr. George, during this time with COVID, eating sweets is doing a whole lot more harm because you're saying it puts our immune system to sleep for up to 5 hours. And we
Absolutely.
need our immune system to fight off disease. So that delicious piece of pie, the cookies, the cakes, we have to, I guess that's why it's under temperance, to being moderate, being in balance, because it knocks out our own defense and disease can come in. Wow.
And talking about balance, Jesus, when he was sending his disciples out, I think it's in Matthew chapter 6, verse 10, or I could have it the other way around. He said, "Be wise like a serpent and humble like a dove." Different translation, they use different words. Wise, one translation said cunning or shrewd. In other words, we have to use our minds in approaching this problem and keep that balance at the same time that we're humble, knowing that God is the biggest healer of all. Always put God first. So sugar, we know sugar is linked to cancer. There's this famous German scientist came up with the Warburg effect. He found that cancer prefers to eat sugar. Cancer cells, when they grow, they prefer sugar over other nutrition. So that just should make us alert that sugar is not good for us, refined sugar especially. Now, exercise. I think everybody knows exercise is good for you. It makes you healthier, helps relieve stress and so forth, right? It helps flush out all those bad bacteria that build up in the lungs and so on. Exercise helps boost their antibodies so they can fight better. Remember that first line of defense, the innate immune system. Exercise improves circulation. We know that when you're exercising, the blood moves faster. And the blood vessels, they open up so it can reach even hard to reach tissues and so on. So, but just to sum up what exercise can do, this is a little graph here. Those of you who don't like graphs, don't feel intimidated, it's simple. To the left side, you see somebody who is sedentary. What are the chances of getting upper respiratory infection? As we know, COVID, coronavirus, really, it's a respiratory, it starts in the respiratory system. Their chances are average. Then when the person starts exercising, like a moderate exercise, which is like 150 minutes per week of exercise, or 30 to 40 minutes every day, you find that the chances of getting that upper respiratory infection drop down by 40 to 50%. On the other hand, if you overdo it, go start running a 5K or 10K, your chances of getting that upper respiratory infection go up by 2 to 6-fold. Now, I'm not saying people should stop running the marathon, but like I said, be wise like a serpent and humble like a dove. In these days, you want your immune system ready to fight and so forth. You don't want to go and start running to do strenuous exercises. Because the estimate is what we call, there's an open window between 3 hours after strenuous exercise up to 72 hours. When the immune system is down, it can't fight back. And that could be just enough for that coronavirus to take advantage of your immune system. So it's good to run marathon and so on, but another time maybe when this coronavirus is gone.
So even though exercise is good, Dr. George, you're saying even in a good thing, you can impact the immune system if you overdo it.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and that's good to know.
temperance.
Because we think something is good, so why not do more? You know, but like you're saying, it can tax the system and priority over fighting disease. It has to come now and recuperate and build up the body from strenuous activity.
All right. So we're breezing through these laws. You already had 2 of them, 3 of them. You had sunshine, you got temperance, and exercise. So we're going down now to rest. And we are lightly touching on each one of these, but each one of these laws can take up to an hour or more in presentation when we are in a instructional format. But we wanted to at least give you something to work with, so we're just going through each one. Rest is one of my favorite. My wife always tells me, she says, it's as if when I wake up, the question I'm asking next is, okay, let's make sure we do everything so we get back to bed in time. So I'm waking up and I'm already thinking about when I'm ready to go back. Rest is very important to our immune system. There's many benefits of having rest. God himself allowed it and highly recommend it because it says in his word that man should work 6 days, but on the 7th day you should rest. And night rest is very important. You know, ask anyone, when do you think your body performs the most work to keep you sane and to keep you alive? When do you think the body performs its most work? When you're up and about? No. It's actually when you are asleep is when the body is performing some of the most vital work to get you back and sustain your life for another day. So is rest important? Yes. Some benefits. It's during that time that waste products can be moved. It repairs affected or damaged cells, and it strengthens the body's immune system to protect and fight off other diseases. And so how much rest do I need to get for my body to do all this and to keep my immune system? Well, studies have shown that persons that get rest 7 to 8 hours on a regular basis each night have lowered their death rate than those who slept less than 7 hours nightly. So it's important to get at least 7 or 8 hours each night. You know, I tell people, even on weekends, I make certain that I go to bed right around the same time and I wake the same time. If it's a holiday, I still wake the same time because our body knows and functions best on regularity. So if you establish a time within your home that is time to go to bed, time to wake, and you do that on a consistent basis, your body loves that regularity. We can touch on a lot more on that, but we won't at this time. So continuing with when is best time to sleep, studies also have shown that going to bed around 9:30 is the best time, between the hours of 10. Now, some people say, I go to bed at 9 o'clock, but the reality is I don't fall asleep until around 11. So they're in bed that long. So you have to assess yourself and say, what is it that could possibly be causing me to not get my sleep? And so there are various habits that one can look into. If you're having trouble sleeping, that you should assess yourself. Remember, we said, ascertain the cause, change bad habits, and then assist the body in what it needs, right? So the best thing to do in promoting good sleep is regular physical exercise. I can't remember the exact reference, but there's a scripture that says that how sweet is the sleep for a man that works. So when you work, you find that, whether it's exercise or being out working, physical work, set a fixed time for going to bed. These are just practical things to help get that good sleep. Because I've met many people that say, I just have trouble sleeping. I may sleep 3 hours and then I'm awake again. So we know that there are things that can cause that. We already touched on having good sunlight exposure. That helps in setting your circadian rhythm as well, so you know when the body is ready to sleep and all, and so on. Avoid late meals. How many times that we eat and we are ready to go right to bed? That's one of the biggest injuries you can do to to your body and also to affecting your sleep. Because instead of the body doing the work of repairing and getting you ready for the next day, it is focused on trying to also generate the blood that needs to break down and digest that food. And if it can't or it didn't do a successful job at it because it's conflict between trying to do work to keep you alive and trying to break food down, then you have other issues going on with upset stomach and inflammation and so on due to that meal that you had just before going to bed. So give yourself at least 2, I say even better than that, at least 4 hours before you go to bed that you had your last meal. And you may have that meal at 6 o'clock because you want to go to bed by 10 o'clock, but then at 9:30, you feel a little bit hungry and you decide, let me just reach and take about 5 grains of grape. And you pop those in because that's still not what you want to do. If you get to that point where you're feeling hungry again, let me give you a little trick. Drink a cold glass of water, because that cold glass of water will cause the stomach to contract, and it will take away that hunger, that urge that you had for something to eat. But that only will be because you had a good meal earlier. If you didn't and you just kind of skate by with some quick snack, then yeah, expect to get hungry. Another reason why people get hungry at night, if you're staying up late, you're going to have a desire to eat again. So regularity going to bed, eliminate sugar, and those are just some good practices, all right? Having your bedroom well aired and avoiding light. Ooh, having little light is the best way. Darker the room, the sweeter the sleep. Even if you go to a hotel sometimes and you see the little lights on, I love to do that. I throw a towel over that little night light so I don't have that affecting my sleep. Okay? So a dark room. And of course, relaxing the mind. That is a big one. Having that peace. I tell people, I said, go to sleep, not thinking about what you're going to do the next day, but thinking about all that the Lord has done for you. And if that seems difficult, then start thinking about how you would like to see someone else blessed. In other words, put the focus not on yourself, but think about what God has done, or think about how someone else can be blessed as you go to mine. Peace. Don't go to sleep thinking with any kind of worries on your mind, all right? So,
Michael, what is it that you say to summarize sleep? The shorter? What is it?
well, the shorter the sleep, the shorter your life as well.
Right. Just something to remember. The shorter the sleep, the shorter your life.
And
It is that profound.
How about having those cell phones and laptops by the bedside?
see, Brother George, you're gonna make me stay longer than we have time for. But yes, devices. I know some people that have, when we have done trainings before and lecturing, that will confess to you, I sleep with my phone right under my pillow while it's charging. That's a no, because they're just, it's like I can't miss the call. I can't miss a little notification of somebody messaging me. We don't want to necessarily get too far down that path, but yes, that is something to keep in mind. Keep the devices away. Bring us back, Pastor, and we're going to give you each one of these in very well practical ways, all right? And I tell people, when preparing for bed, just think of it as a pilot about to land a 737 big jet. If you're in that plane and the pilot says, all right, folks, we are going in for our descent, and he just drops that plane down, you're going to be like, no. So think of sleep as not crash land, which is, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to go to bed, boom, and you crash. Think of sleep as landing a plane. I gradually start preparing myself, getting myself ready for bed. And I guarantee you, those practices, those habits will lead to a very good night's sleep. So now we're moving on to our next law, and that is trust. Trust in divine power. Ah, boy, I wish we had so many other folks sitting in front of me, because I can hear the amens from those that are online looking on. Amen. Trust in divine power. If not in anything else, know that the one who created you have your best at heart. And so trusting in divine power, how can we make that into practical? Well, the Lord says, I am the Lord that healeth thee. My friends, those in front of me and those online, if you are unfortunately been infected by COVID, sure, the promise of a vaccine may help, but I want you to know it's not even in the natural herbs and so that we give you. What you need to do is trust in the one that healeth. He is the one who created us and he knows. Fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will keep thee. That's a promise that God says he will be with us. And there are many other wonderful promises as trusting in divine power. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made, is what the psalmist says. And one of the things that you can do to get these promises and developing your trust in God and divine power in your life daily is to establish a devotional life. Have that time when you spend devotional time to connect with God and to build your trust in Him. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not on your own understanding.
Michael, and I want to add this. During this time, we've been working with people with COVID, and with all the stuff that we help them go through, the herbs, the different foods, the different things to help them heal their bodies. Everyone at the end of it, when they have, thankfully, God has helped us that we have lost no one, but they thank us for their prayers. One lady was so low, she called me, she said, Michelle, just pray. Just pray. She had all the stuff. She said they were helping. At the end, I asked her, what was your favorite part of all of this? And she said, I craved your prayers and having that peace. She said after every prayer, she had peace and she could sleep. And that's why I asked about the mental aspect of it. It's like a death sentence when people hear that they have it. And so immediately they are shaking. And I'm talking about men, women, children. I had one family, it was like 7 people in the family, all had COVID. And the big thing they would gather around the phone and we would pray. And this is what kept them, like she told me. She said we were going from one prayer to another. That's what kept us. They were able to have the hope that God is in control and continue the program. But the prayers, do not underestimate the power of trusting in God. Worry can kill.
Yes.
Literally. And the stress level, I mean, it can kill. So do not underestimate when you're told that these are the true remedies. If you don't have a source of hope with any diagnosis, the prognosis goes down for anybody. It's a poor prognosis for anybody with any disease.
With a lack
Studies
of
show
hope.
that trusting God and having some kind of spiritual dependence on a higher source, is what the study said, would boost the immune system and increase their chances of being healed or recovery. So it's very powerful.
So trust in God. Develop that ability so that you can strengthen your immune system. We're going to move right into our next one, which is nutrition. And remember, we are exploring the laws of health. And so we just want to make sure that we get them all. So
Food. What do we eat during this time? And again, what we're sharing with you is things that you can do now. If we strengthen our bodies now, even if we're surrounded by this virus, we may get affected, but because we have been priming our bodies, because we have been boosting our bodies, it will not last. We have had people that we've worked with that after the onset of symptoms, within 24 hours, they reported feeling better. So we're not saying do this and you'll never get it. But we're saying by God's grace, do this and you, who knows, stand back and see what God would do for you. It may be 24 hours and your symptoms may be gone. So the nutrition that we recommend mainly is a whole foods, plant-based diet. Let food be your medicine food. It helps to fight off pathogens, plus these food loaded with vitamins, minerals, antioxidant. Instead of buying a pill for every form of antioxidant you want, eat the food because it comes customs made with a proper combination of phytochemicals, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants and enzymes that can help you to build a strong immune system.
And you know, Michelle, one thing I always say about food is that your food choices can be the most powerful, safest form of medicine, or it can be the slowest form of poison. Your
That is
food
true.
choices.
That is true. Especially now, we are in serious times. We're hearing about a second wave, some saying it started already. And so, what can we do? As you hear everything that we're sharing, start preparing, start doing. As soon as you can, just start giving your body that advantage so that you can withstand even this COVID. And we're gonna, this was a beautiful quote. The Lord has given some simple herbs of the field that at times are beneficial. And if every family were educated in how to use these herbs in case of sickness, much suffering might be prevented and no doctor need to be called. These old-fashioned simple herbs used intelligently would have recovered many sick who have died under drug medication. And we hope as we continue, you're going to see and feel a little more confident how you can use these herbs. These are a list of antiviral herbs, and we're talking about COVID-19, which is viral, right? So snapshot, take it. With each of these herbs, you can actually make a tea. You can use it as a tea. And how we make tea, especially from leaves and stems and flowers, you would take 1 teaspoon of the herb and add it to 1 cup, 8 ounces of water. So you're going to take 1 teaspoon of the herb, anyone. And the whole theme is, what do you have in your hand? Most times you're sick, you don't want to go out, or you shouldn't go out. So if you have oregano, yes, the herb oregano that you add in your pot, this is the same. It's just dried. There's nothing else to it. You can take some of that herb and make a tea. You might have basil. We love to make pesto with the basil. Make pesto. Make it more frequently. Or get those same basil. They're so aromatic. Oh, it smells so good. Loaded with powerful antiviral properties. Make a tea with it as well. Also, the garlic. That same garlic. You don't have to use the whole bulb of garlic, but just pull out 1 little piece of the garlic, throw it in some hot water, cover it down, let it draw until it's cool, and you can drink that. You can also drink that. Do that with all of the herbs or anyone that you have at home. So if you're working with a friend, a colleague, somebody who may not be feeling well, even if they don't have COVID, these are antiviral. You start getting that sore throat, make some tea. Drink that tea. Drink it as your water for the day. As long as you don't sweeten it, it goes straight through your bloodstream. It goes straight through your system. It doesn't have to be digested. There's no sugar. So just drink it as your water. This one is one of my favorites. It is called the Super Flu Bomb. I hope you're snapshotting this one because this is power. This is powerful. The turmeric, which is known for its anti-inflammatory properties, is loaded with, again, the enzymes. And this is the fresh turmeric we're talking about. If you don't have the fresh turmeric, then you can open some of your capsules. Or if you have the turmeric powder, use what you have in your hand.
So if you're at home,
don't have it in your hand, now is the time to buy it, to keep it handy in case you need it.
so you want to, if you can screenshot it, but this is the ingredients, the list of ingredients that you need to make what we call the super flu bomb. And again, this is not only for COVID, but especially as we get into the winter season here. So the list of ingredients are there. We're not going to dwell on how each one is beneficial, but as Michelle rightly said, they are all antiviral, so they will benefit you.
We just want to share also with the honey there. If you're diabetic, we do caution, don't use the honey. Use, and that's why you saw the /1 to 2 peeled oranges. Still leave the pectin or the white part of the orange on, and you blend it up in the flu balm. Leave off the honey. Okay, there are people with different conditions that may worry. If you're not sure, again, feel free to reach out to us. We do help people, coach people through. We want to make sure you're calm, that you're not fearful, and God is able to work with us as we've worked through with people. Feel free to reach out. Blending all the ingredients together in the required, the 2 cups of the hot water, and then let it steep. If you have a very powerful blender, what we're saying is use as is. If your blender is not very powerful and it didn't really break it up very fine, you could strain it and use it. But if it's a powerful blender, use as is. Allow it to cool. And I always tell people, take probably a few crackers or so before eating, because the garlic is powerful. If you haven't put a thing in your stomach, that garlic, you can feel it. It can be painful. Keep it refrigerated as well. This is one, it's called the immune builder. This is powerful, but as you compare ingredients, this one is not as potent as the flu balm. So this one I would tell you, use now. If you're not infected with the virus, this is something you can make up and give to everybody in your family. You can take it once a day, twice a day, just to keep your immune system going. In addition to doing all the other stuff, which is what we're going to start doing, going to bed, drinking that water, exercise, all the other laws of health, because that's what's going to keep you in shape. Okay? But in the meanwhile, if you're feeling that sore throat, so you start feeling a sore throat, tell me, what's the first thing that you're going to do? Anybody in the audience? Oh, I don't know if people are typing in their responses, but I know for me, as I feel a sore throat, I start thinking, ascertaining the cause. Did I drink enough water today? And just with the water, and I tell you, this is an experiment that I've done. All I do is use water. Every 30 minutes, drinking a glass of water. And by the time it's an hour, the sore throat is gone. I do that very regularly. Saying it didn't help. Okay. Sure.
If it's pertaining to this especially, then by all means.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So they can contact us. We're going to leave our contact information at the end so that they'll be able to contact, because we want people to feel confident. If they need to be guided in any way on anything in the presentation, feel free to reach out to us. Okay, thank you, Pastor. We do have a Facebook page, Owner's Manual Health Ministries. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I do want you to know, immune booster, use it. I just had a gentleman who I told about it. He was getting the sore throat. He had lost his taste. He had not tested us yet. So he wasn't sure if he had COVID. He had a lot of the symptoms. He called me. He said, "Sister, that immune booster is a beast." He said, "I'm already getting my taste back." He's already getting his sense of smell and taste back. That was 24 hours of following the protocol. And so do not underestimate God's simple remedies, because He is the blessing that's working along powerfully with them. I think there is, I think we're having an issue here with the slide. It's not advancing. Oh, okay, good. Thank you. And so the immune booster, powerful. Mix it up, keep it at home twice a day, everyone in the house. Don't take it on an empty stomach, twice a day, everyone in the house, and it would not even last a week. It makes a good, and we're going to have that one. That's the ingredients we have here. And so I know that we're going to have some of this for those of you here to try. These are just the ingredients that we had here of the immune booster: the onion, the garlic, the lemon, and Needy did such an awesome job of preparing it. And we're going to get those of you here, you are going to get the opportunity to try some once it's made. Okay. Here is another one. Some people have not much appetite, but we still want them to get some of these antiviral, antibacterial fighting properties from food. And so what we've done, looking at the ingredients, it's the same garlic, the onion, but now we've made it into a soup. Isn't that brilliant? Who's sick, no appetite, you don't feel like eating all this stuff. So soup. And what can we do in soup? I put the whole onion in the soup. I don't cut it up or anything. I just peel off the outer layers, wash it, and put the entire onion, 2, 3 sometimes, especially during these times, flu season and the colder months. I put it all in there. What you're going to do is combine all of these ingredients in the water, and in about 48 to 64 ounces of water for 5 to 7 minutes. So it's as if you're boiling it and making a tea, but it's a soup. And then you're going to blend everything except the lemon juice and the cayenne pepper. Listen, people love this soup. It works, it's tasty, but it's not just that it's tasty, it is powerful. Every
Beneficial.
ingredient here is chosen for its antiviral ability, fighting ability. So it is powerful. So make sure you get a picture of that, try it, get these ingredients, have them at home. Sometimes things change. We have had people who said, I went to work, I was fine. By that night, they noticed a headache coming on. By that evening, sore throat that they couldn't shake. I've had people tell me, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm good. By 2 o'clock in the morning, we're getting texts. I have a terrible sore throat. Do not fail to prepare. That's why we're here, right? Are you prepared? And so when we leave here, we want you to feel prepared. We are giving you a head start. So when you go now, keep these things at home. Keep the turmeric at home. Keep some in the freezer even, so that if anything sneaks up on you or any of your family members, you're prepared. Because what we have learned is this thing, if it's left to sit, works in multiplying so quickly that you can move from just barely a little something to, out, wiped out by a day.
So you have to be
Be
aggressive
prepared
in
and
using
be
these
aggressive.
natural.
Exactly.
And these are good recipes. You had the super flu bomb, you had the immune builder, and now you had the antiviral soup. And all this is part of the nutrition that we refer to, the nutrition being one of the laws of health. So now we're jumping to yet
And I'll
another
come
law of
back.
the health.
Mhm.
And I think, Michelle, you're going
I'll
to take
come
this
back
one
to
as
the
well?
no.
Pure air.
The air we breathe.
Mhm.
Pure air, just to go by the slide, I know it's crowded if you're driving or if you're at home. It may not be, yeah.
But the thing is, we don't
Yeah.
realize that indoor air is 2 to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air. And over 90% of Americans spend
More time
most of our
indoors.
day inside.
Inside and out.
We are outside walking from the car to the office or to the workplace, and then at home heading back out. Apart from that, we're inside. So anything that happens in the building, we just keep rebreathing it all day. And so I know Dr. George is going to share just a few tips because studies are showing the impure air and how it impacts our bodies. They showed in areas as much as even heart attacks. There was a link between impure air and heart attacks and appendicitis. And there was a list of conditions, unbelievable, that you would not ordinarily think had anything to do with air quality. And so now, since we're in a respiratory situation, you can imagine how important it is to ensure that we have clean air, indoor air.
From there, here's our inspirational guidance from the writings of Ellen G. White. I believe it's in the Ministry of Healing. She recommends that every day we should open the windows to the house, let fresh air come in. And you should not have trees or stuff growing outside the window because they affect the purity of the air. Now, what does science say? She referred to research. We actually know people who live close to busy highways like 75 here. That's why you find a cluster of these problems like high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes, and so on. The reason is the air is not very pure. I know this is my favorite highway when I'm going to my favorite bookstore, Half Price. One time I'm driving, but it's always very busy, bumper to bumper. I see somebody jogging across. I was thinking, that can't be a good thing. Running in during rush hour traffic, you're breathing that bad air. So we can live for weeks. Jesus survived 40 days in the wilderness without food. But 5 minutes without oxygen, and you're in trouble. Permanent damage to the brain and so forth. Oxygen is an essential chemical. All reactions in the body that require oxygen, it helps release that fuel, that energy in the body to keep the immune system awake and alert and ready to fight off infections. We have roughly 5 quarts of blood. That's a little bit over a gallon, right? That passes through the lungs to get fresh air and to get rid of the impurities, including carbon dioxide, out. So I don't know if you've noticed, babies, when they're born, they breathe with the abdomen.
Deep
In
breathing.
the nursery, you see the abdomen going up and down. They're using that diaphragm. It's a very powerful muscle. But as we get older, we forget that. We start,
Shallow.
if you're breathing and you're actually getting taller by a few inches, you're not breathing right because you're using just the chest wall. You need to use the diaphragm. Let the abdomen rise. For gentlemen, it's okay. I know we try to tuck in so we don't look like we have that beer belly. But we can't all have a flat stomach like Michael, so relax. Use the diaphragm to breathe. So actually, this is not rehearsed. I was going to use Michael to demonstrate how to breathe right.
Oh boy.
So if you can have the camera on him.
Okay. So deep breathing.
Best way to do this is...
You're going to have to tell me what I need to do.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Either sitting in a comfortable chair or laying on a flat, firm surface. So you want to put one hand on the chest. You need the other hand too. And the other one on the abdomen. So you're going to breathe in through the nose. Take a deep breath. Now, when you're doing that, the hand on the chest should not be rising. It should stay the same. But this one on the abdomen should be going up. So now I'm going to do a deep breath. No, just go with a deep breath. I'll tell you what to do next. Breathe in deep. The stomach should be rising. It means you're using the diaphragm.
Is Michael's rising?
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Then when you're breathing out, you press the lips and let it out slowly. At the same time, you're tightening the abdominal muscles. And Okay, so breathe in deep. Uh-huh. Yeah, I can see the lower hand is actually rising, and then breathe out through the mouth slowly with tightening the abdominal
Purse
muscles.
the lips.
Yeah, very good. So if you can do that for about 4 or 5 minutes, maybe twice a day, what you're doing is you actually, all muscles, you have to use them for them to get stronger. After years of not using the diaphragm, you're starting to exercise that diaphragm so you can breathe better. And it's shown, people who do meditation or that other stuff, when you do that every day, it lowers your stress level. It actually boosts your immune system. You learn to breathe better, you breathe slower. The heart rate slows down, the blood pressure drops, and even your breathing is much slower. Somebody said that when we were born, we were given so many breaths. If you breathe fast, you run out. So when you learn to breathe slower, actually deep breathing, it actually prolongs your life. You live longer. So breathing fresh air is very critical to our health, and definitely in these days of the COVID-19.
All right. Now, in addition to breathing, you want to make sure that in your home, one of the good practices to do, especially when you're sleeping in your bedroom, um, keep that window just slightly open, about an inch open, and allow that air to come in. Because when you're sleeping is when you do a lot of your deep breathing. You slow and deep are the breaths you take. Well, you don't want to sleep in a room that has not been well aired throughout the day or ventilated throughout the day. So I strongly suggest keeping that windows as slightly open to allow the fresh air. Using plants in your home to help purify the air as well is a good practice that one can get into. So pure air.
What about your alarm? Because most people set
the
their alarm
security
going to
alarm at
bed.
your house. So most security alarms are sophisticated enough now that you can actually program it to have one or two or multiple windows on certain floor, maybe on your first floor, your second floor may not have it. But you can program it so you can still allow for the window. If you cannot do that, then I suggest during the day to allow it, especially when we have nice weather days, let that air flow through. One of the things I love to hear in our home on nice days is to hear one door being shut because the wind is blowing through. When you hear that door close, you're like, oh yeah, that's great, because wind is coming through and going back out to another way. So good practice. So that's the law, the natural law of pure air. We're going to water. Water.
Water is a hard one. A lot of people don't like to drink water.
I don't like the taste of water.
It has no taste. And that's a problem too. So for whatever reason, water is tough for a lot of people. They don't naturally reach for a bottle of water. They'll drink coffee, they'll drink soda, they'll drink tea. But water is an absolute last resort. And especially when it comes with disease, drinking enough water helps to flush the bacteria out of your body, out of your system. So,
Water, I tell people, I said, it's the one drink that you can have where the body doesn't have to require any work to get anything out of it. Water goes in and actually benefits the body, hydrates every cell. Every cell in your body needs water. And the way in which you want to consume that water, you don't want to have to drink your water in one gulp or in one sitting and say, well, I had my water for the day. So here's my water bottle. I won't try to drink all this in 15 minutes. How many times you may be able to say this is true to you as well? How many times you've been so thirsty that you reach for a normal sized bottle of water, and once you take the lid off and you put it to your head, you drink, and then completely empty, and you're like, woo, I was very thirsty. Well, when you did that, sure enough, you were that thirsty. but then give yourself about 20 minutes and straight to the bathroom. I need to get the water out. All you did is just pour the water in, and it never really got to the cellular level. And so it went in and it flushed and just went back out. You need to be able to drink your water in small amounts so that the body actually absorbs the water. That's the best way to get it, because we know the benefits of water: cleansing, circulation of the blood. The blood is 90% of the blood is water. So if you find yourself having thick blood or difficulty in blood flowing, sure, thinners are recommended, but the best blood thinner is water, because the blood consists of that water. And so definitely you want to be able to do that. Now, as much as you're taking in water, you also lose water throughout the day. And so we have a slide that I'll show you, but I see a brother in the audience that's raising his hand, and I believe he has a question. So that's why I told you that each one of these laws can lead into a 1-hour presentation, because that is a section that we go into. The short answer I'll give you because of time is, if you have distilled, filtered, whatever water you have access to, it's better than no water. Drink what is available to you. And as you are educated and more information is given, you will understand what is. But inspiration has encouraged us to have soft, pure water is the water recommended. And I will have to leave it at that. But don't limit yourself and say, well, I need to go and buy only spring water to drink or alkaline water. Drink what you have, because I am guaranteeing you it's better than not going with water throughout your day, going without water. So water in the body, here just different parts of the body, how much they need the water. And so you can see the percentage there. The brain, 85% of water that you're taking in, the brain needs it. Yeah, correct. And we looked at the functions of water already, so I'm not going to dwell on it much, but I want to also, where is it here? There we go. I want to get to the slide that tells you how much water you lose throughout the day, water loss. So approximately 10 glasses of water is eliminated daily through your kidneys, your lungs, your skin, and the GI tract. So just think about that. If you're losing roughly 10 glasses of water, but you're only putting in 2, that's some serious danger that we're heading into, right?
Every day.
Every day. Sure, folks say, well, I drink other drinks, juice, but then the juice does have some water and other things in it, but the body has to break all that and filter to get the little water that's in it. So drink pure water. Okay, that's the highly recommended. Other conditions that may cause you to lose more water is in being diabetic or high fever or diarrhea or even physical hard work, sweating. You need to drink that water to keep yourself. And the list goes on in different conditions that would result in you losing water. But water is not just good when it goes in. As medical missionaries, we know, and naturally, water can be used for other external and other remedies that you can use water in cases.
So, question. Should we drink water in the winter when it's not hot?
So, is your kidneys, is your lung, are they all still doing the work they need to do in the winter?
Yes, they are.
So I say yes, you need to. Your desire for water may not be as much, but you need to. You don't do it only when you feel the urge. By the time your body sends a signal to the brain to say you need to pick up that bottle and drink, that's the point at which you have been so lacking in water that the body is saying, I am needing you to. And if it doesn't get it, guess what it's going to do? It's going to start withholding water for other parts of the body organs that need it to keep you alive. And when it starts withholding the water from those parts, other areas like your joints that need water to be lubricated, they will start to ache because the body is saying, your brain, your heart, your kidney, I need to keep the water. The little water I'm getting, I need to keep it so that you can stay alive. So we talk about hydrotherapy. Oh, you were going to say?
Oh, I just wanted to say that actually when it's cold, that's when we lose more water. You may not sweat, but the body is trying to maintain the temperature. So you put out steam through your breath and through the skin. So actually you can get dehydrated from cold weather, in other words.
Yes. All right, so hydrotherapy for COVID. Remember, we're talking about using the natural laws and we're into water. Nasal irrigation, throat gargling, steam inhalation, hot foot bath. These are all hydrotherapy practices that can be used. And we're gonna be showing you how to use some of these. But of course, nasal irrigation and throat gargling, everyone is familiar with. Steam inhalation. Now, I know that this is something that we do at home. In the early, when we were just dealing with COVID, I was the only one in my home that had to go out to work. I was an essential worker. So when I come back home, I would do this nightly, the steam inhalation, just to make certain that I take care of anything that I may have breathed into my nostril or to my lungs. So my wife is going to demonstrate.
And this is something you can do. He didn't know he was going to be my model, my Vanna White this evening, my model. And so this is something you can do every day when you get home from interaction out there at work. And it's just the steam inhalation is powerful, like it's saying there. It helps to reduce the respiratory congestion, brings relief to the respiratory membranes, relieves in coughing, even the sore throat. It goes all the way through, even to the lungs. So many people have tried this, and it's one of the things they loved. And so you're going to pour your boiling hot water. And so I will tell you, with children, it has to be your older kids. You're not going to do this with the babies unless they're sitting on your lap and you're holding them so their little hands don't touch, because it's going to be hot or tip. And so we usually put it on the table, pull up the chair. So just like we are here, pour the hot water in. And then I use the peppermint. We love to use the peppermint, but if you have eucalyptus at home, this is the essential oil. You only need 2 drops. You don't want it so hot that it burns your nasal passages. 2 drops in steaming hot water is more than enough. And so what, Dr. George, we're going to create a tent. And I know the table is lower, but ideally you're going to have where you're able to sit at the same level as your table. So Michael is going to raise the table and you're going to bring it closer. And so we're going to make a tent, and under the tent, we're going to enclose the bowl and him in there. And he's going to lean his head over the bowl and take deep breaths. He can open his mouth. And so he's breathing in through his mouth and nostrils, deep breaths. And if it gets too hot under there for him, he can turn his head to the side, peek out, get some cool air, and go back in again. Most times, we've done this with people or persons who didn't even realize they had mucus. After they've done it a couple times, they had to blow their nose or they were coughing stuff up. It is very, very good. It's soothing. Some people love the warmth. They love the heat of it. It does help to loosen things up and just help, as it says, it loosen thick, dried upper respiratory secretions. And so it works wonders. It's soothing. And of course, don't forget, take your little breaths of cooler air. Close your eyes. That's another thing. The peppermint oil, it gets hot. It feels hot. It's intense. One person called me. Remember, we were doing it, we video call to, coach her through. And she was like, I'm sweating. So it actually works almost like a little sauna situation going on. And you're able to sweat it out as well. So that's one thing that it's simple, but it's so powerful. Do not underestimate the power of these essential oils, the water. If you don't have any essential oils, what can you use? You could put in orange peel, lemon peel,
Into
grapefruit
water.
peel into the hot water.
And it
You
will-
could even use plain water. If you have nothing, then you have nothing. Still do it. It's still going to loosen up because the heat is going to work in a powerful way. So use what you have. You could cut an onion and put it in that water, garlic in that water. If you live out in the country, you could put some pine needles in the water. Pine needles have powerful antiviral properties as well. In fact, some people make a tea out of the pine needles and drink that. You can even make a tea out of the pine needles and use that as a house spray for your surfaces in your home. It is a powerful antiviral. Okay, even your peels, the grapefruit, the orange, the cuties, all those citrus peels, powerful. Use them as cleaners. Add them to like white vinegar or even to the alcohol and spray. Use them your own homemade surface cleaners.
So the key thing is when doing the steam inhalation is to ensure that you cover completely over that container. And I recommend using glass container or stainless steel, not a plastic.
Right.
Okay? And cover completely so that the steam just comes up and you will sweat indeed. If it's too much, overbearing,
Peek
get
out.
out, get some fresh air, but go back in.
Mhm.
All right? Another use of water is the
And I'm-
hot and cold
right.
contrast
And
shower.
I'm not sure if we explain hydrotherapy. What is hydro? Usually, if you see hydro in a word, what is that? What are you thinking about? Water.
Using water
So if
in
you
therapy.
notice, all these treatments have you use water. How many of us have water at home? All of us have water at home. So again, we're doing things where if you're too sick to go out, these are things that we are trying to give you now. You can do it from now, or if you are sick, God forbid, but if you do become infected, there are things you can definitely do. For people who are not sick, you can do it once a day. If you are sick with the virus, you can do 2 to 3 times a day because you're at home. You can do
Okay.
it more often.
So with the hot and cold contrast shower, it's simple. We all got to take our showers, right? When you're in there, sure, I like a nice, steamy, warm, however, but I like my water hot. Okay, that's great. But before you get out of that shower, go ahead and turn that shower to cold. Oh yeah.
As cold as you can stand.
For you who are married, you're gonna hear your wife in there and she's gonna scream, yo, when that scream is a good scream because the water is cold. What it does, no, it actually works as a pump because the hot water dilates the blood vessels. And then when the cold comes, it contracts. So what you're doing, you're creating a pump by doing it 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold. 3 minutes hot, 30, and you do that for three cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have actually created a pump. Every time it opens up, and you're drinking your water throughout the day, the blood is not thick, so the blood is flowing, and you're having good nutrients in your meals and the air. So you see how blood is life? Because the blood is
Yes.
what carries everything for the body. So when you
Yes.
take that hot contrast shower and the hot water causes it to dilate, it's rushing in new nutrients, all right? Getting the old cells out of there. And then when it contrasts now, it holds it there so that the body feeds on what it needs in that particular part of the body. So the hot cold contrast shower. One more use of water that we know is the warm
So
foot
good.
bath.
So good.
This is a remedy for coughs and even for headaches,
Chest, yeah.
bringing that headache down, pulling that tension down from the head. So warm foot bath with eucalyptus leaves. If you have the
Or you
leaves,
drop some
or
of
you
the
drop the
essential oil. And you
drop it
could
in
do
there.
this if you have one of those 5-gallon buckets at home. You may not have a basin. Use what
Use what
you
is available
have
to you.
and make it as hot as you can stand it. And what it does is pull the congestion down from wherever it is to your feet. At the same time, you're going to put a cold, wet cloth on your forehead so you're balancing.
You're
You don't want it
balancing
to
it.
pull everything down so much that you start feeling dizzy and
Lightheaded,
woozy.
yes.
So you put a cold, wet cloth on your forehead that helps to maintain that balance. And these simple, do these look like things you can actually do at home? Yes, yes. So we are preparing. This second wave coming, we want to be prepared. We don't want it to catch us off balance
So believe it or
or
not,
unprepared.
we
Next
have
slide.
actually come to the
I
end.
still
Yes.
have one more slide.
No, that's it. We have actually
Add it in.
come to the end of it, but we do have and hope that you took notes. And again, each one of these laws that we mentioned before is God gave to us. And we can take a lot more time going into each one, but we are not at this point. So this is a promise to us from Second Selected Messages. It says, natural means used in accordance with God's will bring about supernatural results. We ask for a miracle, and the Lord directs our mind to some simple remedies. I tell you, there are many times when we share these simple remedies, an individual will say, really? That just seems too simple to work. Well, even Christ himself brought back sight to the blind man using simple remedies. The clay and his own spit. So therefore, we know that natural, simple remedies used in accordance with God's will. And even when you do that, you still have to have the faith to trust in the one who heals. Brethren, we want to thank you so much for giving us the time to come and share with you these wonderful truths that we are passionate about. And in the times that we are in now and what we have to face on a day-to-day basis, none of us know when we might be the one in a situation that need to apply these or may need to help or advise someone who is suffering. But the bottom line is, remember, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path.
We have any questions? Yes, yes.
Yes, I think we have, how much time do we have, pastors? Okay. So we'll entertain a few questions, but let us know when we are out of time.
Yes. Of course, in my work, I'm required to get a flu shot, so I get it every year, but they're actually beneficial. They may not as effective in some years because it's based on a lot of guesswork, trying to estimate what type of flu you'll get that year, but they're beneficial. But remember, more important than that, it's to boost that innate immune system. Following these laws, you're ready to fight off and so forth. But you still need that those antibodies against the flu. So if you get one of those, if you get one of those bad flus like happened a few years ago, you have those antibodies to help you fight back.
But I think
And-
what we're sharing is you don't wait for a flu shot. There are things that your body, which is the most powerful defense, can do now. And this is the preparation. We have so much debate about shot, no shot. We don't, as a ministry, tell people go take a shot or no, don't take it. We don't. That is left to the individual. But what we do share with you is what we have in letting you know that your body was created to handle any disease, especially if you gave it what it needed to fight. And so those are some of the things that we are focused on Because like Dr. George said, you may get the flu shot, but the flu going around may not be the same strain as the shot you had. And, but if your immune system is intact, even if you're infected, it won't keep you down. Like we're saying, even with COVID and the people that we have worked with who were diagnosed with it, but within 24 hours, they felt a whole lot better. Some of them, not all, but some of them felt better within 24 hours. But we do tell you to continue taking the super flu bomb, continue taking the immune builder up to 2 weeks afterwards. So even though your symptoms may have stopped or decreased, continue taking the flu bomb or the immune builder. And one thing we forgot, we didn't get to share with you, if you have any symptoms, we want you to get a purge, a lower bowel cleanse. Most time in doing that alone, many of the symptoms go away. I've done it many times with our children as they were younger. They would have a fever, and I would give them a quick fleet enema. And with the enema alone, they go to the bathroom, and the fever would be gone. So toxins within your body can cause the body to generate that fever, trying to roast off the invader. And so by me giving the enema, it assisted the body in its work of getting rid of the invader. Were there any other questions?
Whenever you're ready to take that shower. If you're doing it in the morning or in the evening, it really doesn't matter. Just do it. Now, if you find yourself feeling as if you're coming down with something, then that's a good time to go ahead and do it too. And but yeah, if you're taking showers before going to bed, it's great to do it then, or even in the morning. There is no harm in when you choose to do it at all. But if you feel the need of something coming on, that's a good time to do it then,
On the
to shake it.
the Amen organization, I think they were hosting some web presentations for a few weeks. And Mark Finley was saying he has a sauna in his house and he does that hard cold showers like first thing in the morning before he goes to work. Just every day, doesn't wait until he's getting sick. So that works for him. So you kind of use your judgment.
I like to do it in the morning because I'm going out to work. So I go with my system boosted and ready. And some people who have tried it at night said they were so invigorated and refreshed that they couldn't sleep. It got them too fired up. And so they took a while to settle down for bed. But try it, like Dr. George said, and your body would surely let you know.
The cold water is indeed invigorating. On my drive home from work one day this week, I didn't get to listen to the entire presentation on the radio, but they were talking about individuals that doctors observed. And when they went and talking freezing cold water, they would take these cold swim. And they said that it allows the brain to generate certain signals or responses that when the body is cold, that's what it does. So we're not saying for you to stay out there until you're an icicle, but we're saying the showers, just doing that hot and cold. I hope it was simple enough that you understand the pump effect, okay, with the hot and then with the cold, how that's a pump of contrasting, the dilating and the contracting of the vessel. So very good question indeed. Any additional questions coming in online or from the congregation?
And we do want to encourage you to do your vitamin C. Vitamin C is powerful. Again, camu is a fruit, and it's the top highest source of vitamin C. As always, we encourage you to use food sources because they tend to assimilate into the body a lot better than the synthetic types. It's called camu, C-A-M-U, C-A-M-U. And it's one of the highest sources, so use that.
We've got a question here.
Oh, I think we had another question. Zinc is also good too. Zinc is known to what destroy a virus upon contact. And so I think the recommendation was up to how much? I know there's 75 milligrams is what I've been seeing, but you can use zinc-rich foods. And that's why we have some of these books here, loaded, some of the foods you probably already have in your home, loaded with zinc. And what you can use, the sesame seed, the pumpkin seeds, those seeds that we encourage you to eat and add to your diet are loaded with the zinc and therefore will also assist in killing viruses.
However,
such
I
as-
will say if you are going to be adding seeds or nuts of a variety to your regular eating, make sure that you go with the natural. You don't want to do roasted, salted nuts or seeds, sunflower seed, roasted, salted, because that which you intended to do good, you are doing bad with it as well because of the salt and the fact that it was roasted, it's not containing all its properties and enzymes that you really need. So if you're doing seeds and grains, do them raw. And they are available in your Sprouts, in your Whole Foods, they're easily available, but go with the raw seeds and nuts.
Just an observation, when President Trump went to Walter Reed, one of the top hospitals in the country, one of the supplements they gave him was zinc. So with that, you have to be careful. It competes with the copper in your body. So if you buy supplements, make sure it has a little bit of copper in it so you don't create another problem.
And that's the thing again with supplement. That's why we say, let your food be your medicine. Remember that statement I said, food, your choice in food can be a slow, the most powerful and safest for your body, but it can also be, based on your choice, it can be the slowest form of poison. So make the right choices when it comes to that. So are there any additional questions, whether online or in person here? If the recipes will be shared online. I know the church, is this going to
It'll
be on the
our
website? So this presentation is going to be on the church website, but also if you reach out to the ministry's website, you would have that and additional more resources that you can be freely take and use. Go to the website and go to the Learn link and look at Learn, and you will see a lot of different things in there that you can use, not just for COVID or any other, but just practical things you can apply at home, and some good recipes too for those who like cooking. So check out the website. If you have something that you want and it wasn't available, send us an email and or Facebook, which is the same info at owner's manual. And so those are just ways in which you can reach out to us and we will get whatever information that you are requesting. And if you just need someone to just talk to and talk you through it, then give us a call or send us an email and with your contact info and we'll reach out to you.
The question. Right, right.
So Pastor is not here, but that would be a question for Pastor. But we have Sister Needy here that she can respond a bit in kind with that.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. As in the past, you have just impacted us hugely, and we truly enjoyed this program. And this program was just really meant to be an introduction to, I know Owner's Manual and DFC has been in talks to, we will be learning every single step that was touched today in a very detailed. So we have talked about hopefully next year, every month touch on one single subject and just go in tremendous detail, not only on the knowledge of it, but the practical ways to implement in our lives. So we will be learning step by step this whole loss of health. But again, we want to thank you tremendously. And remember, this program will be in our website, so you can review in detail if you missed the recipe. So you can also have the contact information, because if you have not visited ownersmanualhealth.com, you're missing out. You want to check it out, especially their learning section. So please visit it also.
Again, it's on your YouTube as well, right? It's on the church's YouTube. It's gonna be on ours too.
Wonderful. So,
Did we get all the questions? I know I see her looking on the phone. No. Oh, okay,
I
okay.
don't see pastor, so you want us to, you're gonna close?
We're gonna have the sample for you afterwards because we want you to give your immune system a kick on the way out. But we just thank Dr. Needy so much for having us here. She's really excited to bring this to the church and to the community. She's always talking about the community and impacting. And I know we've already talked about next year going forward. We want to make your church one of the healthiest churches in Texas, and you can do it. So
To
thank
be
you
as a
so much
witness
for
to what the
having
Lord
us.
can do. Amen.
So with that, I'm going to invite Elder Martin to come and have closing prayer for us. And please, can we give a round of applause to Dr. George, Michelle, and Michael. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
I retired my eldership. I was retired, but let's go ahead and pray as we end this lovely session that we've had. Thank you, dear Lord, for blessing us this Sabbath day. Thank you for sending us our brothers from East Texas to come and minister to us through health, through principles that you've given to us that sometimes we neglect, but they are there for us for free to learn and do so that we can improve our whole self, not just spiritual, mentally, but also physically, because you want us healthy in service for you. We pray that we learn something new that we can add on to our arsenal as we traverse this world. May we be better representatives of you, and may we be good stewards of the body you've blessed us with. Thank you for everything, and I pray for those who are present in attendance and those who are at home. May we all prepare for you soon coming and prepare those around us. Thank you for all that you do for us. And once again, thank you for our brothers and sisters who've come to minister to us. Thank you. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.